Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast. I've got an incredible guest today. I'm really, really looking forward to chewing this man's ear off and having some quality conversations. A man who has started 4 multi-million-dollar brands, founder of Flow State, and has lived a colorful life with ups and downs along the way. Probably the best biography that I've been sent through for my podcast so far. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Dave Nelson, how are you, man?
Very well.
Man,
Very well.
it's been a while since we've chatted, and it's been a pleasure to I guess watch your journey from the network marketing days when I was in there to the flow state, what you're doing now, your coaching, your personal branding. It's been a pleasure to I guess be adjacent to your journey and then follow it. And I don't know your story super detailed, so I'm looking forward to hearing your story, and I'm looking forward to chatting deeply about the Tao or the Tao,
Yes.
however you pronounce it. And yeah, it's been really present in my life for the last couple of weeks. So no better man to have on my podcast than you. So for anyone that doesn't know who you are, Dave, could you share us your story?
My story. Well, I'll try and keep it short and sweet as possible because I've had as you sort of introed there, I've had a lot of successes with 4 big brands, or not big brands, but relatively big brands compared to the everyday brand that launches. But I've also had lots of downs with that, and that's sort of the colorful side. Through that, I've been on a great journey of many ups. When we met maybe 10 years ago, probably now on the Gold, I was living here on the Gold Coast, and we're both doing network marketing.
Yeah.
And that was kind of like the peak of my financial success at quite a young age. Brought an American supplement company through multi-level marketing to Australia. We did incredible things. My team had probably 2,000 people in one room at one point, so we probably had 10,000 Australia-wide. And, I was way too young to probably be making that type of money. It's not that much money, but, there's a lot of young guys making money now, on YouTube and TikTok or whatever. But back then, at that age, to be sort of, making million in commission or 500,000 commissions a year profit, clear was a lot of money. And, lived that high life, had the big house, the sports car, the model girlfriend, and all the things you shouldn't do as well, which is a story for another day, maybe for the book one day. And then I just got into and I was really on path with that because I was passionate about health, fitness. Network marketing is amazing because it's all about leadership, self-development, philosophy. So I learned all those skills through network marketing. Like, it was a beautiful journey. I had some great mentors in the founder, Dennis Wong. He was, I learned a lot from him, and he was a role model at the time. And then I kind of got the ego kind of took over, and I was just like that masculine alpha male, money, I can do anything, more, need, conquer mentality. And I started opening restaurants, vodka companies, anything I could get my hands on, I was opening. And I just, at that time, I thought, if I made that with that, everything's just going to be easy. I'm only going to get better. If I'm making $500,000 now, I'm going to be making $1 million next, 2 the year after. You don't comprehend that you can lose it all and go down. And anyway, the long story is I went off path. I'm not put on this earth to run an alcohol. I like drinking alcohol in moderation. I like food, but it's not my path. It is not my mission. And, when you've got a big purpose and mission and you're not on it, the universe will force you back on it. And he did that the universe, I say he, they, whatever, did that to me. Essentially went bankrupt, lost everything, had a Ferrari at 26, probably the wealthiest 25-year-old I knew. And I was the brokest 30-year-old I knew by far. Like, no car, can't even get a phone. You lose everything. You so much debt. When a couple of businesses fail and there's a domino effect, and had a problem with the house, failed at building pests. So it all come crumbling down to rock bottom, beyond rock bottom, which, as many people say, is the best thing that ever happened to me. And that's when I really connected with the Tao. And the word flow is really, the Taoists 2,500 years ago really found or discovered the word flow or Tao or Wu Wei, as they called it, as a philosophy on how to live life. And I'd already done a lot of Eastern study, and I'd always connected with it, whether it was books or movies, role models. Like, my first mentors were all Asian. So I always had a real connection with that ancient culture. And then I built, divinely, COVID hit, and flow state's a COVID baby, I call it. And it was divine time. I had no job. I was living with mum and dad. I had no car. I had nothing. So I had to study, and I had to go inward. And, I was playing with things like LSD, mushrooms during that period to self-discover. And I don't necessarily recommend that because, the clinicals on it are, I think, like 30% of people, even under a regulated environment, have negative effects. So if you're doing it yourself, it is, I've seen it be dangerous to some. So I'm not necessarily preaching that for everyone, but it was a beautiful journey for me. And I discovered, and you've had DeMartini on this podcast, which is incredible. Like I use DeMartini's methods, going over what are my values, what's my purpose, all these different things. And it was really clear my life purpose is philosophy, health, wellness, mindset. And I was able to blend them all together to create flow state. So that's kind of like my career story. And it had to be that way. It was perfect. It was divine. At the time, I was a massive, why is the universe doing this to me? I'm a good guy. I tried my best. My companies are all good. Why would you do this to me? But now I look back and go, thank God you did that for me.
Yeah. And even the way you mentioned it, like, I think we've got a lot of similar, I guess, beliefs and mentors that we've studied. And you're using words that really resonate with me: purpose, mission, vision, the divine order. You've got your own path, ego. A lot of words really, really resonate with me. I guess I'm curious on maybe, what are your beliefs now when it comes to, say, when I use the word divine order, your path, beliefs, purpose, what are your beliefs now that are really serving you? And you feel like, and even the way you're speaking, you're in flow. You obviously cliche with the name, that's for the business. And versus maybe, I guess, the younger, successful, which everyone would maybe perceive as successful, the Ferrari, the nice car, the beautiful wife or beautiful partner. Maybe your differences, beliefs from maybe now and in hindsight, the younger, successful.
It's hard to differentiate what's my ego and what's my true path. It's like one of the great philosophical questions that you ask even in day to day. I would say when I built Your Health and had the cars, the house, the girlfriend, it was covering a lot of insecurities because I grew up in what I perceived to be a poor family that struggled for money. And I grew late. I didn't get laid till I was 19. So what did I grow up wanting? Money, girls. So I was on a mission to show I'm good enough, I'm worthy, I'm going to get the money, the house, the attention, the whatever it may be. So that would be what I call an ego drive, which can be good for short periods, to be honest, because it's a fire. And if you connect that with your path, great. But restaurants and vodka and alcohol is not my path. It's not my passion. It's not why I'm here. And then, through the differences and what is the way, or what is the divine order, the way I would describe it, many Taoists would describe it, is everything's divine order. The trees here have divine order. They're in the ecosystem of life. You have a purpose. Now, as humans, we're the only ones that a tree has to be a tree. The tree doesn't wake up and be a dog. But this is what happens with humans. You might be destined to be a healer, but your parents make you be an accountant. My bet is you're going to be pretty empty. You're going to be pretty frustrated underlying, and you might put on a brave face and smile and shake hands and post you and your missus with the same dog outfits or, whatever it may be, and play happily family. But my guess would be that person's deep down hurting, not on path, not inspired, not living with this life force. And I really believe is when we as humans connect with our true path, this Tao, this universe runs through us, and we are filled with spirit, energy, inspiration, enthusiasm, love, compassion, endurance, strength, but all those are great things that are universal force. So I would say that's what we all have, a Tao. We all have a way. So the Tao means the way of all things, the way of the planets, the way of the ecosystem of our rainforest, the way of our life. And there's no good or bad. You might be focusing on mindset. Great. I'm focusing on, health. You might give a charity, and your charity is to animals. And some people would say, we should all be giving to the animals. No, not everyone wants to give to animals, because there's people that need to look after the environment. So the world is in perfect balance. We just have to connect with the path of and when it's kind of like in The Lion King, so Mufasa says, you must take your place in the circle of life. You are the king. You must remember who you are. So that's one of my favorite movie scenes ever, because Mufasa comes back in spirit. Maybe Rafiki was a shaman and took him on a spiritual journey. Spoke to spirit, whether it was God, his father. I believe they're the same thing. We're all creations of God. He was told, you must take your place in the circle of life. You must remember who you are. That is your path. And then that's, for me, even as a kid, I remember watching that movie, and when Simba runs off, my whole body was filled with goosebumps. It is now, because it's just such a powerful thing. And I think that's the message for all people. You need to figure out who you are and remember.
How do you do that? How does one figure out who they are, find their path, or tap into or be aware of the Tao, or maybe there's similar answers? How does one do that?
Yeah, I think all the stuff that, what I spoke about earlier and what you would have done with DeMartini is, what are my values? Your values will generally show up in what you spend, what you consume your exchange of energy on through time, money, they're probably the biggest two, is going to be a sign of who you are. Another Demartini method, actually, which is amazing, it's my favorite exercise to do with people, is steal the traits of the people that you admire most. Your heroes, your people that inspire you are in spirit. That's why you're inspired. They're showing your spirit. So I always know my guides on who I am is by who I'm inspired by. So that'll often show up. So you can use all these great tools. Astrology is a great tool. My astrology is very, very clear, that I'm meant to be a bit of an orator, health, wellness, a nomad, a traveler. It's in my astrology. It's in the stars. It's in my numerology. It's in my values. And then you can just it's in my heroes who I'm inspired by. And it's also just interests, passions. And you just got to start to look for things. What lights you up? What gives you goosebumps? What fills you with energy, with life force? That's generally a good sign. And then the opposite of that, what drains you? What makes you sad? What are you doing when you're always sick? There's generally going to be a polarity there. So it is hard. And there are no right or wrong. I think the biggest thing people suffer with is deep down, they're trying to do something that other people think's cool, or their mum and dad thinks cool, or society thinks is cool. And that is just a construct that they live in. And we can't live in these constructs, because these constructs are why every 3 out of 4 people are depressed, anxious. We do not want to follow and buy into the construct that is statistically horrifically failing.
Yeah. What was your path to do that? Like you, whether it's say doing a Demartini method or reading a book, but I guess generally, in my experience, the universe, you mentioned actually, as you shared your journey, the universe will wake you up to it. If you can either, you can balance yourself out, or the universe will do it for you.
Yeah.
What was maybe your journey to go from that sort of, to get you onto your path? What were the kind of the wake up calls that you experienced?
Yeah, well, obviously going under was the best one, because it's like, hey, this isn't working. There's no better sign. And that's why breakthrough, equals to breakthrough. So the universe is the one I missed, or I didn't say, is you got to watch out. The universe will give you signs if you're watching. Yeah. So one of my favorite things from the Matrix is, the white rabbit. Follow the white rabbit. And that's one of the signs. It's on my arm, because I want to keep reminding myself, is like the universe is always delivering. It's delivering gifts, people, messages, right time. It's also giving tests. And one of the philosophical challenges of the Matrix is, yes, there's the white rabbit in the Matrix following the path and having trust in the path, but there's also the girl in the red dress, which is the ego. So you do sometimes have to sit back, because when you become so sensitive, you're like, oh, is that the white rabbit, or is that just a test to see if I'm going to repeat the pattern and evolve? Because a lot of things do get sent to you. I'm starting to really believe that every single challenge and failure we experience is a gift to grow. And it's a cliche. I've heard that for years and not believed it. Where right now I'm at that point in my life, I'm like, shit, yeah, every single thing is here to make us grow, learn, adapt, evolve, like in nature. And that's very Taoist philosophy. But yeah, does that answer the question? I kind of went on a tangent.
Yeah, no, it's something I like about you, and I see it in myself. I see that trait in me, like you mentioned, is you answer quite long. You'll give a very
mine goes.
Some tangents in there, but we get to the end destination. I guess with I actually didn't have that connection with the Matrix then, of the white rabbit versus the lady in the red dress. How can you learn to differentiate? So for people that are listening to this or watching this, and they're like, oh, the shiny object, the money, the cars, the business, the ego. Like in my experience, me was opening up gyms. I remember 22, I had 3 times gym owner on my Instagram, just to even though I had no money for petrol. It's like I had that there to build myself up out of insecurity, versus listening to my path of being a healer, being a communicator, being a connector. Yeah. So how does one person separate the two? This is the white rabbit, this is the red dress.
It's a great question. But also what you sort of joked about at the start is when you asked for my bio, I was like, this is all just status stuff. Like I've done this, I've done that. Look how special I am. When, so that's why I found it hard to say, oh, I'm a 7-figure or a 6-figure earner or whatever, because it's all meaningless, because I don't have that now, or whatever it may be. But it's a hard one. It is hard. I think one of them is breathing into your heart and feeling it. So whenever decisions we make, and let's just say I'm thinking, do I want to go, like for example, right now for flow, like we're really looking at going to America, and I breathe into my heart and go, am I wanting to go to America because of ego and conquering? And I'm still there's what they call a warrior stage, where you're still wanting to conquer and whatnot. And then you move into the stage. I'm still in between. I'm not at the full stage level. I don't even want to be. I kind of enjoy that. I've still got so much yang in me, that masculine, that warrior energy still. So I want to honor that. But yeah, I do believe I've always had a connection to America, and it's been in my heroes. Arnold Schwarzenegger's it was probably the key one that I followed. Is it always talked about, dreamed of going to America. So I believe I connected with that very young. So I believe it's for all the right reasons, but it is hard. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's my ego mind, but the universe is starting to plot. I didn't plan to go to America for maybe 2-3 years, where the universe keeps dropping stuff right now. So I'm like, I'm just on for the ride. If the Tao is starting to run through me and guide me, I sure as shit am jumping off, and I'm not pushing it. And it's funny, not pushing it. Often one of the Tao philosophies is non-force is one of the keys of flow, and that's when everything works in harmony. So if you're trying to force everything, it's kind of like swimming upstream.
Yeah.
It's going to get very tiring. When you let go, you go downstream and you get taken to mystical and magical places sometimes. But yeah, it is hard. You've got to be self-aware as well. Knowing your insecurities will help. I knew at a certain stage that I had mummy issues. I didn't get laid till late and I had no money. So when you know that, I know there's going to be a natural overcompensation of me chasing women, falling in love with women, idolizing women. And that happened to me in my 20s. Or maybe it'll happen to me again. I don't think so, but who knows? Like the Tao works in funny ways, and maybe it's going to send me through a second cycle of that. Who knows? But yeah. So there's sort of a multi-part answer.
No, great answer, man. I guess going into flow, then obviously you've mentioned the word flow, and you're the founder of Flow State. Could you, I guess, give us some insight into what flow is, how you came to it, where it was born out of, and maybe shed some light on that?
Yeah, so originally it started as a daily practice, which is just bringing together, because I got to a point when I went under and was sitting at home, and my life was at rock bottom. My health was terrible, mindset was terrible, everything was terrible. I'd been drinking alcohol like a fish for 3 years, partying like a rock star with no money. So anyway, I kind of had to go, well, I need to get, when was I at my peak? I was healthy, I was fit, I was reading, I was studying. So I went back to basics. I'm like, right, I need everything. I need yoga, I need mobility, I need to be doing breath, I need to be doing meditation. I still want to hit the weights, I want to sprint, I want to run, I need to study philosophy, I need to get everything right. And I'm like, geez, this is like a 4-hour task. It's probably not a great strategy. So anyway, I ended up just keep compressing it. And then before I knew it, I had an hour, and that created Power Hour. And I created a sequence. Was studying yoga. I did my yoga course at the time. I was still finishing that. Did breath work, and I've done a whole bunch of courses, and it all just came together. I did come up with flow on LSD, which is quite funny. I really saw it and put it all together and saw the flow of it and the impact and whatnot. And then that's how that started. Went online. Online become very competitive because of COVID. So it wasn't a great thing for COVID, because you've also got 2 million other trainers around the world all spending money on Facebook ads for online workouts. So it wasn't like, oh, this is a moneymaker. It was quite the opposite. Yeah. And then we always wanted to do a studio. The DAO produced. One of my good friends, Shane, found a site, and he found a site in Maroochydore and started on that journey. So Flow kind of grew from there. And now it's kind of built into this whole thing where there's a whole practitioner course now where you can coach people on Tao philosophy, mindset, breath, meditation, diet, the whole 9 yards, and really just bringing it all together. But everything we do is based on what we'll call the yin and yang, which is a good another topic. So the Taoists were the first to understand the forces of yin and yang, that all things in nature are whole because of these two forces, whether it be masculine, feminine, light and dark, sun and the moon, blah, 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 driven, relaxed, hyper-focused, surrendered, and in flow. So they understood that. So literally, and the body works like that. The body is in is the number one thing your body's trying to do is survive. Number one. How does it do that? Homeostasis. Once it's in homeostasis, it will look to reproduce. They're like the two main things that humans want to do: is to remain in balance and breed like rabbits. That's like deep within our DNA. So yeah, the yin and yang balance is how we view everything from movement. If you're doing excess yang, which is all compression, impact, tension, running, sprinting, without the right balance of yin, you will face problems. If your mind is all yang, just you're constantly chasing money, alerts, you're up at 5:30, alarm, go. Nature will force that balance in a lot of ways you don't like. Your diet has a yin and yang balance. Inflammation is yang. Anti-inflammation is yin. Oxidation, toxin, stress is all yang. So your diet, same thing. If your diet is full of coffee, yang, inflammatories, meats, too much meat, processed meat, grains, it's all heat, your body's probably going to explode in anger, is low-level stuff, frustration, mental breakdowns. Mine was migraines would come out when I had too much heat in the body. It would come in migraines. A lot of people's guts will start basically bleeding or having, irritation, to put it nicely. So you've got to create a lot more yin in your diet and your mind and your lifestyle, in your perspective. And DeMartini talks about a lot, the polarity of all things is just like showing the yin and yang of all things. And then you become more subjective and less emotional on things, because for every bad thing, there is a lot of positives that will come from it in probably equal proportion.
So what are the principles of flow state? So say, for I guess anyone interested, whether say I was going as a client, what are kind of the principles or the lessons or the teachings that you'd want me to absorb to get the experience as a client with flow state?
So we're going to take you through 4 parts. First one is to get you in flow. So we want to get you living a life in flow, in your true nature, in your spirit, free, relaxed, happy, in your power. The first thing is we're going to bulletproof the body. And we use a combination of yoga, mobility, Pilates, deep core strengthening, a lot of our techniques around animal movement. We've got a whole strategy for bulletproofing the body. Really recruited from elite athletes to ancient yogis to prehab, rehab that you'd see in physios, and we integrate that into our workouts. So that's the first step, because if your body's injured, niggling, problems, you're not going to find flow. You need to be healthy. We need to find that power, that strength, that yang essence of just being strong and loose and relaxed and soft and not tense all the time. So that'll affect your breath. It'll affect the mind. It affects everything. Number 2 is we want to create all-around athleticism. So we use pretty much every movement you can think of on the planet, from yoga to Pilates to dance to sports conditioning to HIIT to lifting to strength and conditioning. We're bringing that all through our sequence of workouts, so you can move in every direction. You can live. I say everyone's an athlete. Your chosen sport is a great life, and your duration of your career is hopefully 100 years. So that's how we see everyone's body. I want to be surfing a shortboard at 90. I'm not doing that if I do CrossFit. CrossFit's great. It seems like I'll be pretty jacked and fit and in my power. I'll look like a warrior if I train CrossFit. But I also know I'll be seeing the physio 3 times a week, more endless problems, and I won't be surfing on a surfboard at maybe even 40, maybe 50. So that's what was my experience. Maybe there's some people that super genetics and can really push hard and maintain and prevent that. Rare. Then we go into being able to calm the body and mind. So that's all through the breath, meditation, yoga. The biggest problem one of the biggest problems man faces today is an overactive, overstimulated, tense, the data's there. We've all got anxiety, depression, stress. Okay. These are all coming from our perception and our behaviors and our state. So that's the third part that we build into our system, is we're teaching you to rebreathe. We're teaching you to let go. We're teaching you in yoga, in a difficult pose, to relax the breath. That's one of the best things about yoga. You're learning to relax under deep stress. So I use that in my life all the time. Whether it's ice is great as well. You're learning in a high stress situation to calm the breath. If you don't calm the breath in ice, you will suffer. You will suffer far more. If you're breathing in ice, you're going to be up for a painful 4 minutes. Painful. You just push through and break through with the relaxing breath. It won't hurt as much. The cells are less sensitive. So that's number 3. And then number 4 is a little bit woo-woo. We want you to channel flow. So the real benefit and the real power of yoga and these Eastern practices, the breath work is connecting you to force. It's connecting you to chi, prana, life force, and you're channeling it within the body. Yoga is then designed to move this life force through the body. Okay, so that's why all these poses, it moves it through your organs, gets you full of life. And then in meditation, we do a lot of Taoist meditations where we're just vibrate. For example, in our meditation, we'll get you smiling and get the whole body smiling, and life force can fill your body in a smiling body. Life force does not come through a stiff, sick, frustrated body. It's like a hose with 1,000 kinks in it. Water ain't getting through. Same with chi, same with life force. So it's like one of the most famous lines in movie history is, "May the force be with you." What is the force? The force is the Tao. It's the energy. It's the chi. It's may this spirit, this higher intelligence run through your body, guide you. It's got a higher intelligence that'll guide you through the heart. Your heart is your guide or your portal to this energy. It's believed. I know people talk a lot about their third eye and whatnot, which is part of it. But yeah, they in a lot of Eastern practices, they'll say your heart is the portal. It is your guide. It is your captain of your ship. It's your compass. And the only way we get there is bring some of this down here. Not all, because we need the mind, but we don't be 100% mind. 100% mind ends in disaster.
Yeah. Now, what are some of the beliefs that you've picked up from numerous teachers, numerous philosophies, mainly Tao or Tao, that have that show up very regularly for you, and how do they show up? Like as an example, I mentioned I've just started reading the book by Wayne Dyer, "Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life: Live in the Wisdom of the Tao," and just something I read literally I think 2 days ago, just around being conscious of ego thoughts versus I guess the Tao thoughts and following your path. And just since then, I've just noticed like there was a criticism I was going to make on my partner. She did something. I was like, hang on, is that an ego thought? I just didn't say it. I didn't express it. And then more love came to me just because of that. So what beliefs have really, I guess, you've downloaded from the teachings and lessons that you've done, you've learned, and how do they show up in your life?
Well, one of the big ones that's similar is also that like everyone's on their own path. They're all on their own way. Everyone's own way may have a lot of learning, a lot of distraction, and we all want to fix it, criticize it, do this, you're that, at them. Where really sometimes you just have to let someone.
I do that a lot.
Yeah, we all do. As anyone that's got a healing energy is going to want to fix everyone, which is fine. Sometimes people do need help and they'll seek it. But generally we like to give, criticism and advice where they don't want it. And often you just got to let that unfold as it is. But also what I'm learning every day is things that really give me the shits or trigger me in business, or someone's done this, is it didn't actually affect the way. The way still, and it's like the old quote, will this matter in 5 years' time?
Yeah.
And if not, why worry about it? So really understanding just divine order is everything that you see is divinely perfect. It may seem like chaos. For example, I thought going under and losing my business, losing everything I'd ever worked so hard for, my reputation, everything, was the worst thing that could ever happen to any man on the planet. Like I'd almost rather have been a cancer patient. That's how extreme I thought that problem was. I look back now a little wiser and a little calmer and go, that was part of the way. You had to go. And I had a spiritual, what do they call it? Dark night of the soul, like a spiritual ego death. But also I'm always trying to have an ego death. I wouldn't even call it an ego death. I see it as like, what do we learn from nature? A snake sheds its skin and keeps evolving. I want to keep evolving forever. If I'm the same person, same thought, same belief, same place 5 years, well, maybe that's the way for someone. It's not my way, I believe.
I'm going to share something with you, and you're probably one of maybe 3 people I can share this with, and I think you'll actually understand it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. You mentioned psychedelics, LSD, mushrooms. I'm a big fan, big fan. Have you seen the movie Fantastic Fungi, the mushroom movie?
Yep.
So there's a part of it where, and I've actually never said this to anyone, so you're the first one I'm going to share this with. It's like, if you go back, we are ancestors of fungi. After they killed all the dinosaurs were done, everything. The only organism that was alive was fungi, was mushrooms. It came up, decomposed everything, and if you follow that line of evolution, humans would come millions and millions of years later. And when you have a psychedelic experience, like say mushrooms, like I had one last week that we're speaking about before this, it's tapping into that eternal intelligence. It's tapping into the divine order. And that's where you have these incredible fucking downloads and these incredible breakthroughs and these incredible, I guess, I don't know, ego deaths, if it's a term that you use. I'm just curious on your thoughts and beliefs on psychedelics, how it's been able to shape you, how you've used it in I guess constructive ways, and I guess your thoughts on what I just shared just then.
Yeah, well, I think there's something magical, for like no pun intended, there's something magical about them that I think in human form there's something in our brain or in this construct that disconnects us from spirit, from another, whether that's another dimension or another realm, I don't know. And even the Tao says, he who tries to explain the Tao doesn't understand the real Tao, because the Tao is unexplainable. It's beyond comprehension. So us now trying to explain it may be impossible, because I think it is. And on my mushroom trips recently, I believe I had a guide explain to me that we are all pure spirit. We're multi-dimensional. So you and me doing now, like our spirits in this human body right now, and we're talking, but our spirit's multi-dimensional. It's also in we'll call it space, and we could be communicating there. But in this space place, there's no separation. You're multidimensional. So you could be chatting to me and being with me doing something in this spiritual world, but you could also be with one of our other mates, Guy, or whoever, at the same time. So I saw that in my trip. And the way they explained it to me is we come in human form, kind of like a dog. My dog's, where is he under here, is a good example of half human, and their human senses control them. You know, they smell and they're run by it. But also in probably equal proportion, they're full of love and spirit. So we as humans are meant to have that same balance of spirit guiding us through and combining with this human experience. The problem is nearly all of us completely disconnect or don't even know we are pure spirit. We think we're stuck in this world, in this body. This is the only thing. If this is the only thing, everything is heightened for obvious reasons. And not only is we not connected with spirit, we're not connected to our higher spirit, our higher self, the connection to all. And that's when we get stuck in what you would call the matrix. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a hard question because I don't know. And I don't think anyone has ever been able to really fully articulate the workings and magic of spiritual connection, the universe, dimensions, reincarnation. But yeah, you definitely see it, as you've probably experienced in these trips. But often the trips happen so fast. Like my last one, I'm getting like thousands of downloads in an hour. So it's like, I couldn't even remember it all. I wasn't able to in that trip. But I've had great trips where I've journaled a lot of insights and felt. So one of the other cool ones I felt when I was really studying Wayne Dyer, the Tao, was I was on this trip and it was like, get out of your impulses. So I was like, I was actually out doing this, which is quite a funny story, which I'll share another time. So I was out at a bar tripping balls, right? And I'm like, my impulse is like, I need another beer. And this entity's like, no, just be. You don't need another beer. And I'm like, okay, just be. Anyway, I'm like going to go, no, stay in this conversation. Let's go to the new venue. No, you don't need to go to another venue. Be. So every time my impulses, this spiritual energy was like slapping me to be. And then this magical thing happened. I just went, I was just sat there and just be. And something from my heart would pull me and guide me and make my next move. So I was out of my mind. I was out of my ego. And my heart was guiding me. And I'm sitting there talking to this universal entity going, wow, this is how we're meant to live our lives, isn't it? Guided by our heart, not our head. And this entity is like really funny. Like, yeah, no shit. Like these entities, from my experience, this universe is very playful. It's a smart ass. It always I don't know if it's because I'm playful and it's just a reflection of myself. It gives me shit. It's like, it's really funny. Like for me, it's such a fun experience to be on. But yeah, so that's like a 3-day chat that we could have and not get any clearer.
Yeah. I remember we caught up, I think it was my birthday a couple of years ago, and we had an experience together.
Yeah, cool.
And that I guess it's for anyone that's never had an experience, I guess, how would you, I guess for me, and I'd love to hear your angle on it. It's like when you hear frequencies, like we're playing some music, there's like certain frequencies that bring different, I guess, images and downloads through it. I guess, what's kind of if you were to, I guess, walk someone through, I guess, I know it's hard. I can't explain it. You feel things, like a lot of things sort of come to the surface for me. I do a lot of healing. I find it very therapeutic. It's very good for realigning and seeing if you're on that path, because maybe you can tap into that and I guess intelligence a little bit more. I guess, what's your, I guess, summarize what's an experience like for you?
Yeah. Sound, I always just said sound is the magic. Sound vibration, which is just a vibration, it's a sound wave, is what takes you when you're just starting to go into this dreamy state. It's what seems to take you to the next dimension or another, whatever you want to call it. Without the music, I don't know if I would have tripped and entered those spaces the same way. But it's funny, I always just wait for the Tao to show me what music. Like I always have an idea of what music I want. If I'm not feeling it, I'll kind of skip, see what pops up, and I'll be guided. And I'm like, how did I even find that song? Like the next day after the trip, I'm like, what did I listen to? Like, where did that go? It was kind of divine.
What are some breakthroughs that you've had, like from maybe some of the big ones you've had? What was some of like pivotal decisions you made off the back end of an experience?
Yeah, just seeing the future of flow state. And then I see flow state as an energy. I get lots of downloads on what people are suffering with as a whole. Like I'm sort of educated on these trips as well. My last one, actually, after listening to a lot of Wayne Dyer, was really showing the power of thought and manifestation, that thought is a vibration and it does almost form and mold into this universe, even though the thought is like almost, we'll call it mystical because it can't be seen. It does. In this trip, I kind of saw that start to mold and bring into our perceived reality. And so just lots of that. Like I had my last one, I had a lot of breakthroughs on anything's possible. You can literally do anything you want. You can really create with enough focus, with enough heart, with enough repetition, with enough mantra. And Wayne Dyer, whose book you just showed, his recommendation is to Om and Ah also ah and om at morning and night, because this is the sound of creation. So in the morning, you want to manifest, you should be going ah, God, Buddha. It's in every spiritual text. Tao, Buddha, Odin, is the sound of creation. So when you start making the sound of creation and sending this out to the universe, and you're feeling and owning I am. So if you want to go further, they talk about I am. I am that is the word of God. So Jesus Christ is I am the light. I am an expression of God is essentially that. So Wayne Dyer pushes that as well. So I've been doing that a lot as well, and owning it. No, there's no on. So I want $1 million. I want to be healthy. I'm a bit healthy. It's like, I am pure spirit. I am living in inspiration. I am whatever it may be. And you're mixing that with your this is getting pretty woo-woo. And then at night, you go more like the ohms, which is more tranquility, peace, gratitude, and just connecting with source. So yeah, there's just some techniques that Wayne Dyer pushes. I've been doing very, very regularly. I'm finding it very, very powerful. And then one of the other ones I like is just going to nothingness. And this is what I learned on my other trip, is when we're in no mind and go to blank space, nothingness, that's when it's like that's when this like tranquility hits and spirit can enter. It's like, that's how when we're out of there, it's like the head is taking us out of connection to all source. And we're always in our head. So when we empty the head, it's like we settle back into the water. It's like we're, sitting back underwater, connected to the whole planet, the universe. So that's been magical for me as well, is to do meditations in blank space, and stuff seems to happen. I get calls from the other side of the universe the next few days, like weird synchronicities. There's a real power in nothingness and going into some form of connection to all in nothingness as well. So there's kind of like and I learned to meditate on mushrooms. I learned breathwork on mushrooms. I saw in meditation, in a mushroom trip, that when you're breathing in the whole, you're breathing in the quantum field of the universe, all our ancestors' spirit, everything that's anything and everything, you're bringing that power, that same creative source through the body back out. And they say the whole universe is always breathing. So another thing I always saw while on a beach is the ocean and the sand start breathing. And like, I'm awake here, I'm walking around going, this is actually breathing. And one of the theories is even like our atoms and the whole universe is always breathing in and out. And that's a theory of the universe, and why breath's so important, and why we should connect to breath. But yeah, there's so many, ancient beliefs on the power of breath, but all ancient philosophies really understood the connection from breath to spirit, whether you follow the Nordic, mythology of the Vikings, the breath of Odin, through to the Tao is all about breath. Yoga is all about pranayama, breath, connection to spirit, life force through the body. So yeah, it's been understood for many, many thousand years, but it's a great connector.
You've mentioned probably, I've probably picked up on maybe 4 or 5 examples of this, but I'd love to know daily, weekly practices, I guess, that anyone can start doing to start calming the mind, being present, tapping into the Tao, just starting to, I guess, not get their life together. That's not the term to use, but start to, I guess, disconnect from all the stimulus that we've got. We've got so much social media, phones, work, bills, friends, shit going on. You mentioned meditation, you mentioned breath work, you've mentioned reading, you've mentioned switching off, being in nature. You've mentioned a fair few things. Could you maybe go through a bit of a hit list of things that people can do, or that you do on a weekly and a daily basis?
Yeah, so getting the technicality of the breath and the meditation is important, because most people, they'll go to breathwork event, and it's actually the opposite breath thing you want to do. Most people doing breathwork in Australia right now, they're doing holotropic breathing, which is over breathing. It gets you all, sometimes emotions come up, limbic system, blah, blah, blah. That's actually the worst way to breathe. You do not want to breathe like that. It's going to cause you more anxiety.
Can you give an example of that? Because
like
this is something
you don't want to be going,
educated on. Yeah.
So yeah, with holotropic breathing is circular. There's no pause at the top or bottom. And if you're looking at Wim Hof, it's larger in than out.
So Wim Hof is holotropic?
Very similar. It's a little bit larger in than most holotropic breathings. But it's got magical effects, obviously, but this is stimulating the sympathetic fight or flight response in the body. We've got everything else in our life doing that. So we want to go the complete opposite. So like when I drive now, I drive quite a bit in a week. I'll sometimes try and breathe 1 breath a minute. Very, very difficult to do. The gas chemistry in your body won't allow it. You'll kind of be like, or you breathe too quickly. I've obviously taught thousands of people to breathe now. You tell someone to breathe slowly out for 8, they go 3, 4, they're already out of breath. It's 3. So it's like, okay, we're going to slow down the way you breathe. So the first thing I show people is lengthening their exhale. Smooth in, as long as you feel comfortable, long out. Let go of the mind, let go of the body. My body, biology, physiology changes on my exhale. So if you want someone good breathe, and you make sound. Sound's one of the most important parts of breath that no one does. So is basically sending a harmonious violin through every cell in my body to just tranquilize it. So yeah, just getting people a longer exhale and slow the breath down. Get used to doing breath holds. So, just go in for 4 or 5, whatever, whatever's comfortable, nice and full. Don't go too quick on the in-breath because that's going to create that tendency to do sympathetic. People, when they think take a full breath, if you tell people to do a full breath, most people go, which is a full breath. It is the worst full breath. Okay, we want to fill the lungs. We want to breathe into the belly slowly. The reason, if you want to get technical on the science, when you breathe slowly, you're not expelling carbon straight away. You need the carbon present for longer in the body to absorb oxygen. So if I'm breathing in slowly, there's no carbon coming out yet. So that the carbon's present, so it's exchanging. Or if I just breathe in, carbon's gone. It's called the Bohr effect, not as an effective exchange. So that's just one thing, is just one small benefit of breath. But yeah, just long exhales. And then eventually, especially in nature, if I go to like a mountain, I'll go, and I'll call it the ladder. You go in for 4, out for 4, in for 4, out for 6, 8, 10, just to where it's comfortable. And by the end of it, you kind of go in for 4, out for 8, and you let it drift off and find blank space at the end of the breath, just to tranquility. And you just find in that deep, relaxing nothingness, and that there's a deep spiritual connection in that black space. They say the black space at the top of the breath and the bottom of the breath is kind of like life and death. That's the reincarnation. So they say there's a very deep connection to spirit on opposite ends of the breath and in hold. So most people can't hold their breath for 10 seconds comfortably. So we want to get used to just calm breath in. You might start doing a box breath, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 in. So most people can't breathe in for 10. They're going to breathe in for 2. That's all they know. So we need to breathe into the belly. 2, 3, 4, too fast. 5, 6, 7, 8, wide, 9, 10. That's a full expansion of breath. And try and find a hold and relax.
My stomach almost popped just doing that.
Yeah, you can expand it a little bit. And like I open up the shoulders because I want my mobility to open and the shoulders to open. And when we're doing yoga and stretching and mobility, you'll open up this tight region. Like I roll my abs like this is our chi, our energy center. So you loosen all this, loosen the rib cage. You want to loosen everything because we're so tight. Rigid body, rigid mind, rigid nervous system, rigid life, stressful life. So we want to learn to let go, relax. And that's where music is so powerful. Maybe the most powerful energy that can enter your body and loosen you up. But most people don't dance because they're self-conscious. But if you look at all ancient tribes, breath, ceremony, music, dance, fire, often psychedelics. You can use all these tools to let go, to relax. And like, I'm still super tense at times, for sure. Like I'm still got that yang, but as a whole, I'm always trying to we're meant to live in the yin. The yin is low.
Can you we'll come back to the answer of daily practices, but could you just explain yin versus yang? Because I picture the black and white with the little circles.
Yeah. So they're forces. So yang is all the stuff that we're excess. So alerts, phone, drive, making money, and being driven is yang, right? Yang's not bad. Excess yang is ambition, drive, order, being very organized. Hey, today. So the classic example of a guy and a girl is if you're yang and you're in your yang today. You and Georgia at 8:45 we're going to coffee. 9 o'clock we're going to this. We're going to do this. We're going to finish that. We're going to finish this. That's very yang. Very yin would be like, oh, it's such a beautiful day. Let's just go with the flow. Let's see what happens. Let's just go where the wind takes us. No plans. We'll just go for a drive. And that's the beauty of the yin or the feminine, which is feminine's yin, masculine's yang. Okay. And neither are right. But the best way I would explain it would be pure yang. You end up like Jordan Belfort on the Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Money, more, greed, power, plans, excess, drugs, alcohol, sex, whatever. Not that sex is necessarily yang. And then yin would be someone that goes too far down the spiritual path. They're out meditating 4 hours a day. They're walking around nature, and they're called like I really cringe at a lot of people that go, "Oh my God, everything's just so beautiful. I'm just going to manifest. Oh my God," but nothing ever happens.
I've watched The Secret. I'm just going to manifest.
Yeah, what's The Secret? Yeah. It's like your spiritual cliche-a-thon of just stuff that they say, and generally those people end up very lost, no money. They don't, they don't necessarily thrive in this world like they could. But the other side's not good either. So we always want to find the balance of yin and yang in our day, in our personality, and same with leadership. A leadership that's very yang is like Friday, 9 o'clock. Why didn't you hit your leads? You're lazy. You didn't hit it 2 weeks in a row. You're not making money. You're not getting paid. Why? And someone in the yin would go, okay, so it's been 2 weeks in a row now where you're really struggling to hit the numbers. What's up?
Yeah.
Are you struggling? Can I help you with something? So that would be more nurturing, yin, feminine, caring, compassionate. Yang is more strength, power, vigor, protection. So they're just some basics. The sun is hot. Heat is generally yang. Cooling is generally yin. The day is yang, the yin is night. Yeah, so we want to live in the yin because yin uses not much energy. Look at nature. Right now, nature is very yin. There's no thunderstorms. There's no flash flooding or fires. As a whole, the nature is yin because it can be sustained. It's restorative. Nature, even when nature can fire, nature can do crazy things, wind, hurricanes, which is very yang. But how long does a hurricane last? Not long. Same with humans. Yang is very depleting. It's very exhausting. So if you're, they say in physical practice, yang will half your energy, yin will double it. So if I'm working out and doing weights for an hour, it's going to half a lot of my energy. If I balance that with breath, yoga, meditation, recovery, I'm going to create a nice balance because it doubles it. So that's one of the theories of yin and yang in movement and lifestyle, for example. So yeah, we want to live in the yin and be restorative. And that's where we get good health because our organs will restore, our cells can restore. It's parasympathetic, rest and digest. But yeah, we only want to be in yang for periods. But the problem is we live in a life where we're just stuck in all yang, and people get so caught in the yang of just tense, stress, phone, coffee, go, panic, fear. Media is creating more fear that it becomes the autopilot. And a lot of people, when they sleep, even though they're sleeping, their jaw's tense, they're having a bad dream, they're restless.
Yeah, during my hustle period for me, I was so guilty switching off. Always going to be working, go home and I'll be proud to be living off 4 hours sleep when you're dead. I would say that with pride on my chest. And now it's like just learning to, I guess, embrace the yin is something I'm adapting a lot more. Do you have any, for selfish reasons and for people listening, any books or podcasts or teachings that probably touch on the yin yang, the breathing, the meditations? I know there's obviously a lot in there, but any ones that really stand out for you?
It's a lot. There's so many. A lot of the Tao books, like the Tao of Health, Sex, and Longevity, is a great book on Tao and balance, and there's a lot about male restoring your, not depleting your sexual energy as well through ejaculation, which is a whole nother very big Taoist philosophy, which I don't get too into.
David Dieta, is that him?
It's not him. He didn't write the book, but it's very similar to a lot of his stuff. Yeah. All Eastern practices are all about retention of life force. So. It's a whole nother topic. That's a good one. But even a lot of stuff you're watching, even with the mind, like the mind needs more relaxing and peace than anything. Peter Crone, who I know you watch, so good for that. It's about finding peace in the mind. We find peace in the body through, sauna, massage, stretch, nature. But our mind and perspective needs a release. And that's super important. And that's why I love Peter Crone's work, because it's very similar to a lot of Tony Robbins' breakthrough stuff. And just finding peace and rest in the mind, because we could be fighting something. Peter Crone's big one is judgment. You could be judging someone, your parent, as a bad parent for your entire life. That sits in your body, that you walk around every day in judgment, in anger, in hurt, in frustration, and it's going to come out in everything you do.
Yeah, 100%. So, I guess to take it back to the question before we go into this question, just to go through for the average bear getting starting to work on themselves. Meditation is huge. Breath work is huge. Is there any other sort of practices that you do on a weekly, daily basis, or that is very helpful for people?
It's similar to what we do at Flow State. The flow is sequenced in a really nice way to do your breath first, your movement, and then your meditation. That's how the yogis do it. Traditional yoga is breath, movement, and meditation. It's the perfect sequence. The first two are setting you up for meditation. You're channeling the body's chi with breath work. You're sending it around the body with your movement, getting it through all the organs, muscles, etc., and finish with meditation. So that's all. That combo should be on everyone's daily daily repertoire. I also go through an I am. For me, my biggest spiritual practice beyond that is I sit there and connect with the whole spirit, connect with nature, almost call it in to connect with it. And I'll do the I am. Who am I? What is the essence of the real Dave Nelson in my truest form, in my truest spirit? Try and go tap. And I'm trying to be more heartfelt. I'm very heady. Like I've always been very mental, analytical, read, study. So it's very difficult for me to get back into the heart and be led by the heart. So that's one of my practices right now, is to go back in and go, is this full of, am I doing this with inspiration, in spirit? Am I in spirit? Am I inspired by this? How do I find that? More heart, more deeper question, more service. Because I do still get caught in conquering, and I want to have the biggest brand in the world, and I want to be the best. And that's all definitely coming from ego and the warrior archetype. So I'm still on my journey of becoming more service-based, heart-based, inspiration-based, which is my true spirit. I know that, but I'm having to rewire. We don't change overnight, sadly. Well, often we do if there's been drastic change. But yeah, so I'm in that journey that's my journey as well, as being more coming down to the heart, to the spirit, connecting to higher self, and I do a lot of manifestation stuff as well. Like I'm doing that every morning. I'm sitting there in my room going,
Epic, man. Gotta do a vlog on it so people can see it. Man, I've got a lot more questions, but I think we might have to do a part 2. But maybe there was one I circled here. You've actually written books. So I know you've done one on MLM, and you've done one on flow state as a whole, or flow.
Yeah. But I've kind of scrapped the flow, but yeah, we're redoing it essentially.
When you're at the end of the journey, when you've reached the end of the tower, if that's the thing, well, the tower never ends, right? No. It just forever goes. What will be, I guess, the book, not necessarily the name of the book, but what would you teach in your book to pass on for your teachings, and what it is that you want to leave behind on this world?
Yeah, I think one of my favorite part of Tao teaching is expression of the self, finding out who you are and being comfortable living it and expressing that every day. I think if you are, that is the Tao. That's the pinnacle. If you just stay in Tao, that's the pinnacle, and that is the way. That is the journey, is for you to be in harmony with the Tao, with your higher self. You imagine, you're in perfect alignment of Tao being the whole world, and then your higher self, and that crosses. That's the point of perfection, in my opinion. It's if you're just living in your bliss, and for all of us, that's different. There's no right or wrong. Your Tao could be working at the local vet, and you're so fulfilled by, helping animals and working with animals, and you've got a great family, and your true self, and you express yourself through art and music, which you live on weekends, and you travel and you live a blissful, harmonic life. That is their Tao, not my Tao. And we've all got to find that Tao. So for me, the biggest thing is being free. So another thing, Tao, free the mind. Just free the mind. You should be free of the constructs of others. And that's one of the tragedies of life, is everyone lives because they're trying to please up Bob, Jim, and Tom on Instagram and get their likes, and be showing off their car to the person next door. And they're externally motivated by their actions. And look, as soon as you're seeking external motivation, you're in trouble. The true happiness, joy comes from internal motivation. And what's funny is an exercise I did at a retreat is I said, what is the characteristic of your favorite people? And it's amazing, out of like 25 people that all said their favorite people, and I found the common traits. You know what the common trait with nearly everyone was? That person just doesn't give a fuck and be's their authentic self. And I was like, yeah, they're living the Tao. They don't care. They're not falling into the trap of other constructs. They're living in their highest path, and that you love them for it. And that's because that's what we all want. And we're too shit scared because not many people live who they are. They're too scared. And yet the thing they're scared about of judgment is actually what everyone's going to respect them for the most. That's what's like the paradox. I'm not being my truest self because they might think less of me. Yet when I am my true self, that's the thing that they're going to respect the most.
It's when you're looking on the other side of the looking glass, it seems so simple, right?
Yeah.
It seems simple.
It's always easy.
I guess not to dive down another rabbit hole, but why do you think it isn't well known, this stuff? Why is it quite the opposite? I'd say 95% of people do the opposite of what you just said. Why is that?
The world's designed for consumerism and power. So I listened to a great podcast the other day and said, why are all these, the people would say, oh, these governments why would they try and get everyone in lockdown? And this guy said, he's like, it's not about the money. People have a sick obsession with power power and control and profit. And generally, look, think about your day. You go onto Instagram. Instagram is designed to sell you stuff that you need, or that you, if you have, you'll feel better about yourself. We look at social media all day. We're looking at what everyone else is doing, what they have, what we do not. Other couples, other holidays. So just, you go on the news, everything is just, this is what everyone else is doing. And it's just, and why is that? Because they're all getting paid for it. There's money. We live in a consumerism world. It's not like the old days of trading off. And maybe this is just like the human weakness is power and greed. And maybe there's a great quote, power attracts the worst and corrupts the best. It's kind of a sad view of the world, because it basically says nearly everyone's going to be power hungry, and that there might be truth to it. So yeah, I think that's why. I think that we just live in a world where the ruling class that set the school system, that own the media, that own the big corporations, that force the mandates and create our medical system, they're greedy, they're powerful, and they want to profit. And that they don't make money in you feeling whole because you don't spend. And if you're self-sufficient, there's a whole other rabbit hole to go down. But yeah, I just think it's the way the modern world is designed, and it's sad. But I think there's a big turn, and it has to get real bad. Chaos precedes order. And I think there's a lot of chaos in the world right now, which in spiritual terms, people would be very optimistic and say we need to go through this to evolve and to focus on health and go inward and maybe break free of the governments and control and the big Pfizers and corporations and, all of that. So in 20 years, we might look back and go, that was a magical thing to happen.
Is that your dog living the Tao right now?
This is the dog just showing, I don't know. He's probably in his ego wanting some food, actually. He's hiding it and showing the Tao, yeah.
Man, I'll wrap this up. My last point, though, you're on one of my favorite TV shows. You're on Shark Tank. What was that like? Just give us a short version of that.
It was good fun. They fly you to Sydney. It's actually really fun. Like, it looks like the edits they do make it seem very dramatized and tense. It's not. They're really cool. Really good people. They seem like really good people. It was a fun weekend. It was a cool experience.
Yeah. For anyone wanting to see Dave in action, YouTube, I think it's Vodka Plus Shark Tank on in Australia's Shark Tank. It was I've watched it a couple of times. It came out the other day. I sent it through to you. They reposted it. So
I always say, don't watch any of my old stuff. Don't read my books, because like that's like my old self and old ways.
It's all happening for you, right?
True, very true.
Guys, Dave, if anyone wanted to reach out to you, connect with you, whether it's for flow state reasons or just to connect with you, they really resonated with you, how can someone find you? How can someone connect with you?
Man, I'm probably most active just on Instagram. So I think I'm titles just Dave Nelson Flow these days. So pretty easy to find. And that's where I'm spending far too much time, actually. Probably stripping. It probably takes me out of the Tao too much. But anyway.
Yeah, definitely the balance, man. The yin and the yang. I really resonated with a lot of things you said. You gave me a lot of light bulbs today, man. So I appreciate these conversations, man. I appreciate having someone like you in my life. And man, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for listening, for getting all the way to the end. If you got some value from it, please reach out. Please send Dave a message, myself a message. Share it, give us a tag, and we can reshare it for you guys. And as always, I'll see you guys on the next episode. Thank you, Dave.